Hi guys, girls and non-binary pals, welcome back to Budget with Ira. This channel is about paying off over £10,000 worth of debt by July 2022 so me and my boyfriend can fulfill our dream of owning our first home together. I'd love it if you considered subscribing today because it really does help the channel. Subscribing is 100% free. If you don't like it, I'll give you a full refund. It's also 100% optional, so there's absolutely no pressure whatsoever. You're here because you're probably a beginner budgeter and you don't really know where to start. I'm also a beginner budgeter, but today I'm going to show you how I got my shit together. Am I a qualified accountant? No. Am I very intelligent? No. Do I have any business telling you what to do with your money? Absolutely not. But what I can do today is show you how I budget and how I get my money together. So as I said, I am quite new to budgeting, but I do have quite a good plan and it seems to be working for me at the moment. So I'd like to share that with you today. So you're probably watching today's video because you're in a bit of debt. And you're probably in debt because you're spending more than your income. So your outgoings are more than your ingoings. If you want to get out of debt, then this is what needs to change. So I'll show you what I did to make sure that changed. If that sounds like something you'd like to watch, then please keep on watching. So I'd probably say that there's about 6 steps in order to create an effective budget. And I'm going to talk you through what those steps are for me. There's plenty of resources online that could help you and I'll try to link some in the cards, but they will be slightly different to what I did because budgeting is very individual. So while I'm sharing what worked for me, it might not necessarily work for you. But here we are. So a little bit about me. I used to earn a fair bit of money, much more than I am at the moment. I've always worked in retail and I used to work in London, running some really big stores. Eventually it became a little bit too much for me. The workload was okay, but my work-life balance was completely not right and I needed to change that. The only way I could change that was to downsize my career and to work a little bit closer to home. Now I'm working in a very similar job to what I had before, but it is much closer to home, so I am much happier. All of the changes that I've made are for my mental health, but I earn a lot less. So I made a lot of financial decisions based off of me earning quite a lot of money. And now I don't earn that money anymore, but I'm still stuck with those financial decisions. So I accumulated quite a lot of debt very rapidly and I didn't really know what to do. So if you'd like to see exactly how much debt I'm in, I'm going to link that up in the cards. So the first step, the very first thing I did is I took a look at my bank account and I listed every single spend that I do over the month. That is every single payment to debt, that is every single bill, that is every single frivolous spend, everything that you spend on petrol, groceries, absolutely everything. Once you've done that, you've got a really good understanding of where your money goes and probably where it shouldn't go as well. Once you've got all of your spends all together, you'll really start to understand how much you're overspending each month. So for me, I was overspending by about £200 to £300 every single month, and that came off a credit card. To the point where that credit card was almost maxed out for me and I had to make a decision of should I start to budget and be responsible with my money or should I get another credit card? And when I started to consider maybe I should get another credit card or a loan, that's when the penny dropped for me. So in step 2, you've got 2 choices. Choice number 1 is to earn more money. And step number 2 is to spend less. Not everybody has the luxury of being able to earn more money just like that. I certainly didn't. So what I had to do is actually look at what my spends are and reduce that. So for the most part, it's actually just being a bit stricter with yourself and being a bit leaner with what you spend your money on. The other thing is I looked at my subscription. So things like Netflix, I was paying $9.99 a month for, and my Sky membership I was paying nearly £50 for. When you sign up to services like this, you tend to go straight in for the HD package, but I've never really been interested in HD. So what I did is for things like Netflix and Sky and things like that, I just downgraded my package. So now I pay $5.99 a month for Netflix and I pay £26 for Sky, which is the cable company that we use. And even though you're saving £4, that's really significant if that can go towards debt, if that makes sense. Other things I did is looked at my subscription, so I paid for some premium podcast stuff that I never really used anymore because I wasn't commuting to London anymore, so I just cancelled them, which was really easy to do. Things like your car insurance, is that auto-renewing every year or are you actually paying attention to it every year and trying to get the best deal that you possibly can? It might be worthwhile having a look at when your policy renews and making sure that you intercept that to make sure that you get the cheapest possible deal that you can with the coverage that you want. Step 3 for me was to make sure that you always are able to pay for your necessities. So necessities are things like your bills, paying for your food, making sure that you can stay alive, those sorts of things. And a necessity is also your debt repayments, because if you don't repay your debt, you're going to have the bailiffs around and you're going to lose your home. So making sure that you are able to stay alive, your family can stay alive, and you're able to keep the four walls around you up. That's your necessities. So within your budget, those four walls are the most important things. Step 4 for me, and I've alluded to it previously, is to pay your minimums on your debt. The last thing you want is to live quite frugally and to ignore a debt payment, or to pay less than the minimum, or to ignore it. Don't default. Always pay your minimums on your debt. Now, what you'll probably find, as I found, is your minimums on your debt is nearly half of your paycheck. That's really upsetting, but you got yourself into this mess, you can get yourself out of it. So, to reiterate, never ignore a debt payment. Always make sure that that minimum goes out on time. Step 5 for me is quite an important one, and you've got quite a lot of choice in this as well. You will have daily needs like spending money, petrol, getting to work, groceries, social times with your friends and family. Those are really important, and you can't just ignore those. You need to make sure that you are putting that into your budget, because there's no point living lean for years because you're just going to be miserable. What's the point? But also, how are you going to spend that money? So option number 1 is to pay everything that you spend on a credit card and then pay it off the following month in full, but you may not be in a position to do that because you may have maxed out your credit cards. Also, you need to ask yourself, can you trust yourself to use a card at the moment? So failing that, maybe you spend it with your debit card. Ask yourself again, can you really trust yourself to use a debit card? Then you have your third option, which is the option I go for, is to spend it all in cash. This works for me because I know exactly how much money I've given myself for the week or for the month. Also, with having something physical and tangible in your wallet, when you're driving past McDonald's and you're like, oh, I could do with that, you know that actually I've only got £10 this week and that meal is going to cost me £7. Is it actually worth it? Then you start making smarter decisions. Now, don't get me wrong, cash isn't right for everybody, and in COVID times, is it the right thing to do? That's only a decision that you can make, but it really works for me and my boyfriend. We use the cash envelope system, and if you'd like to know more about that, I'm going to link a video in the cards. Now, step 6 for me is probably the most crucial in terms of budgeting. If you want to get to a place where you are paying off a bit of debt, or if you want to get to a place where you are saving money. So step number 6 is to assign a job for every penny in your budget. Now, does that leftover money go to debt? It's entirely up to you. Does that leftover money go to savings? Again, up to you. Does that leftover money form a debt snowball and then go towards paying off significant amount of debts? Now that's up to you. If you'd like to know exactly what a debt snowball is, I'm going to link my recent debt confession in the cards. What you could also do with that money is look towards the future. Now, I'm not just talking about arbitrarily putting some money into savings, but to be very specific with what you're saving and what for and how much. In the budgeting community, we call those sinking funds. So for me, I've got around 10 sinking funds working for me at the moment. They've all got different amounts that I want to spend, and they've all got different due dates, but they're working for me. And I do that in a combination with paying off huge amounts of debt. If you'd like to know exactly what my sinking funds are and how I stuff them and how I look after them, I'm going to link that in the cards. So once you've assigned every single penny of your budget, you should be left with nothing at the end of the month, and that's what we consider a zero-based budget. Now, it's okay to have a little bit of money left over at the end of the month because some people really like to do that, and that's absolutely fine. It's your budget, you do exactly what you want to do. So if you've got to a stage where you've gone through all of your spends, you've had a look at exactly what you're spending on what, you've made sure that you've paid for your essentials and you're making sure that your house is going to stand and your family are going to be fed, you've paid your minimums on debt, and you're still in a space where your income doesn't quite match what you're spending your money on, you do need to go back to step 2, which is to look at how much you can cut from your debt. Now, if you're in a space where you cannot do that, you do need to speak to somebody more professional. Now, in the UK, there are plenty of charities that can support with this, and I'm going to link them in the description box below. If you're in debt crisis, you really do need to seek out help. Now for me, how it worked is the first couple of months, I was just breaking even. I wasn't paying anything extra to debt. There was always something unexpected that kept on popping up, and I wasn't really getting far. And it's really important to understand that you won't be paying off a significant amount of money straight away. You need to trust the process and trust that the process works, because while it might feel great to pay £2,000 with a credit card a month, in reality, you might only be able to pay £100 with a credit card. And yes, it will take you significantly longer to pay it off, but at least you're being responsible with your money and you're actually taking control of your finances. I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give you today is to not beat yourself up. Yes, you're in debt. Yes, it's probably your fault. Yes, you're taking control of it and you're making a difference to it. Don't live your life super lean, because you need to look long term. If you have a super lean month and you live it on bare bones and you say, I've only given myself £5 a week, yeah, that might work for a couple of months, but how long are you going to be able to sustain that for? Because it's not reasonable, you can't live like that. So be kind to yourself and make sure that you are reasonable. So where I'm at in my debt-free journey is I am still paying a significant amount towards my debt because it feels right to me. I am living leaner, but I'm not going without. I'm still meeting with friends. I'm still doing all the fun stuff that I used to, but I'm just not getting new cars. So guys, gals and non-binary pals, thank you so much for getting towards the end of the video. If you have not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing. It does absolute wonders to this channel and really helps me fulfill my dreams of making this channel successful so that I can talk to you guys much more often. Remember, subscription means a huge amount to me, but it is 100% optional, so if you don't like me, that's absolutely fine. But if you do subscribe, you are in for a treat. I post debt and budget related videos every single week, sometimes 2 times a week, and I would love to have you on board. So until next week, guys, gals and non-binary pals, thanks so much for watching. Bye!